Sup you beautiful people. Hope you've had a fantastic day. Welcome back to another new episode of What If Naruto was taken by Yoda and trained to become a Jedi Knight. If you guys enjoy this what if, comment down below and let me know. And go ahead and check out other what ifs in the channel after watching this video. Don't forget to subscribe and leave a like, and also share this video with your friends. So now let's start this video. Jedi Temple. Ahsoka wandered the halls of the temple. Ahsoka. She looked up to find a green-skinned Padawan. She was much older and had been a major Eris. Back from patrol duty. She questioned her friend and fellow Padawan with a smile. Ahsoka, haven't you heard? Barriss questioned her, to which she blinked. Heard what? Ahsoka questioned, wondering what this was about. Naruto's been sprung. Ahsoka stared blankly at Barriss for a second. What? Apparently a group of bounty hunters wearing Mandalorian armor broke him out during the trial. They killed over 20 Jedi in the breakout. Barriss answered. Ahsoka stood still in surprise. Naruto killed Jedi. Naruto broke free. She was horrified by the first set of words, but at the second she smiled. She was definitely shocked that Naruto was responsible for the death of Jedi, but when she thought about it, no one really couldn't blame him for defending himself. She wanted to look aghast as the tragedy of so many Jedi and was trying to frown, but she just couldn't help but keep smiling. This resulted in a not-so-sane looking grin on her face. Why are you smiling? The Maryland Padawan called Ahsoka out on her strange behavior. She was somewhat worried that Ahsoka almost looked happy about it. He killed Jedi. There were a couple of them that were in my group of younglings. People I've known since birth. I know. Sorry. But you know how I am with Naruto. I just can't help but feel a little happy. Naruto was her friend. Naruto was her family. The familial love she had with Naruto transcended the boundaries of the order. She didn't care if Naruto was or wasn't a Jedi. That didn't mean she didn't love him like a brother all the same. Ahsoka. Barriss yelled, somewhat offended. Sorry, can we just talk about something else? I don't want to go down this rabbit hole any further. Ahsoka replied. She didn't want to upset her friend. Alright, what do you want to talk about then? Barriss asked, still a bit peeved. Well, I just got my first assignment as a Jedi. Ahsoka proposed, hoping that Barriss would take the bait and be drawn away by her comments about Naruto. Assignment? Barriss questioned with intrigue. Hook, line, and sinker. I've just been assigned to my new master, and I have to go meet with him. But he's not at the temple right now. I have to go meet him. Ahsoka replied, to which Barriss was quite surprised. It was rare that Jedi didn't first meet their Padawans at the temple. So, where is it that you're meeting him, or her? I guess. Barriss, it's a guy, and he's currently running a blockade on Christosis. Really? Just who is it? Barriss asked, wanting to know more about this staring Jedi. Ahsoka grinned widely. Barriss would never live this down. Well, you might have heard a thing or two about him. He's pretty famous. Coruscant, lower levels. Sasuke Uchiha. Naruto questioned, making sure he was seeing things right. This was someone from his homeworld, someone he once saw as a rival. What the hell was the stuck-up bastard doing all the way out here? Wait a second, you two know each other. Like, more than just from fighting once or twice? Fang asked, confused by their exchange. Sasuke nodded in confirmation with an almost gleeful smirk. What? Surprised to see me? Sasuke questioned as Naruto nodded. He thought he was the only one from his homeworld that had managed to leave it, and that was only thanks to Yoda having sensed him in the Force. What, when, how? Were the only three disjointed words that came out of Naruto's mouth. Did another Jedi pick him up? No. Impossible. He would have seen him in the temple. Besides, from what he could tell, Sasuke wasn't Force sensitive. Long story short, I stumbled upon a starship. I started messing with it to figure out what it was. Accidentally, and before I knew it I was moving further and further away from our planet. Sasuke answered curtly. He didn't go into the details, but Naruto could figure it out. So you ran into a hyperspace-capable starship on our planet. Where? Naruto questioned, wondering exactly where someone could have hidden a ship on their planet without anyone finding it. 2000, was his answer. This caused Naruto to blink. What? You'll have to pay if you want to hear the long version. 2000 credits if you want me to tell you where I found the ship. Are you fucking kidding me? Naruto deadpanned. I don't kid, Naruto, I adult. And adults have bills to pay. Sasuke snapped back, his grin still intact. We're paying you a ridiculous sum of money, and you don't even have the decency to answer his questions. King protested. I was paid to rescue him, not to answer questions. You want a Q&A session, it's gonna cost extra. As far as I'm concerned, you're safe and the mission is done once we get you on board the Star Destroyer that's in orbit. I'm glad we're getting to catch up, but we're burning oil just standing around here trading questions. All these words in one phrase stuck out to Naruto. Was this really Sasuke Uchiha? Stuck up, irritable, good for naught, well, good for everything, actually Sasuke Uchiha. The Sasuke he knew as a child was always talking about revenge, and now he seemed like he just didn't care about much of anything. It didn't matter who Sasuke had become, what mattered was that he was on his side, at least for now. The Republic would be out looking for him, and the Separatists would want him dead. The only space place right now would be his homeworld, a place that only 3 people in the galaxy had even been to his knowledge, and 2 of them were here. Not only would his homeworld be safe, he needed to find a way to get Kurama's chakra under control. The seal had been weakened, so he should probably look for a Fuinjutsu specialist. Well, whatever, I guess it doesn't matter. But I do need to use that ship you had in Naruto was cut off as Sasuke raised his hand. That ship was scuttled almost a decade ago. Sasuke stated, causing Naruto frown. This would make things difficult. Damn it. Why? Naruto complained. That would have been a lot easier than the alternatives. I needed something to survive on in a brand new world where I couldn't even speak the language. People understand when you show them money and point to something. But thank God I ran into Django, and he was kind enough to teach me Mandalorian from our language, and basic from there. Afterwards, I joined him bounty hunting and things got easier. I mean, it sucks staying on that wet hellhole of a rock they called Camino, but Django delegated a lot of the smaller jobs to me, so I could make my own living. Pretty soon I was tagging along with him for bigger jobs, including working for Dooku. Sasuke was certainly elaborating a lot for someone who wanted to charge money for questions. But there was a certain sentence that Naruto latched onto. Naruto felt so vindicated right now he almost wanted to hug Sasuke. At least there was one other sane person in the galaxy that hated that dark and gloomy pebble of storms they called a planet. He shook his head, not wanting to get distracted. Then the only other ship that has the nav data we need for our planet is Master Yoda's personal transport. Naruto's speech slowed to a stop as he realized. The clones were looking at him dumbfounded. Please don't tell me we're breaking into the Jedi Temple. Flash spoke up as he looked at everyone's faces. We're breaking into the Jedi Temple, Fang muttered. First the Senate building and now the Jedi Temple. If they managed to pull this off, then they would be the most infamous group of traitors in recent galactic history. No, you're breaking into the Jedi Temple. I did my part. If you're going there, that's fine. I'm more than happy to wait in my ship here for you guys to come back. Sasuke stated as he headed towards his ship. But what about returning to your old life? Naruto questioned him. Surely Sasuke had wanted to return to his old life. Sasuke stopped as he turned to look at Naruto. Naruto, a lot has changed since we last saw each other. I've traveled the galaxy and the things I have seen are sometimes worse than what had happened to my family. There's nothing for me back home. Here, there's money, fame, excitement, and beautiful ladies of all kinds. I've moved on from life on Ajin. You should too. Sasuke advised him as Naruto thought over his words. Wait, what? Ajin? Naruto questioned. Where in the hell was that? Oh, yeah. I got sick of calling it my homeworld, so I came up with a name for it. Ajin. Ajin. Sasuke said, scratching the back of his head. Isn't that just ninja backwards? Sounds kinda lame. What about Ibanez or something? Naruto suggested. Sasuke thought it over. Isn't that just shinobi backwards? Sasuke countered. Well, yeah, but at least it doesn't sound half as lame as Ajin. It's like, longer. Naruto pouted at getting found out so easily. But I think someone already used that in another fic. Wouldn't want to get called copycats, would we? Fang said through the crumbling fourth wall. Naruto gave up. Ajin it was. Excuse me, Mr. Uchiha, was it? Ross interrupted. Call me Sasuke. The Uchiha clan is dead. Sasuke corrected. Right, well I've got access to my accounts. I'll pay you extra if you assist us in getting him to Ajin. And that would include infiltrating the temple. Ross spoke up, causing Sasuke to sigh before looking at Ross, who was smirking. Now with his assets, and a bit more firmly under his control, Ross could buy a small armada of warships if he wanted to, and still have some left over. How much more? Sasuke asked, tentatively intrigued. How much would it take to convince you? Ross asked. Double. Ross did his best to keep his composure. While Sasuke's ask was steep, it wasn't ridiculous. The Jedi Temple was probably the most well-defended place in the galaxy. There were at least a couple hundred Jedi in it at any given time. Done. Ross didn't bother haggling, preferring to seal the deal quickly before Sasuke lost interest. Naruto was none the wiser, but the troopers looked at him as if he was insane. With respect, sir, but his current fee is ridiculous as it is. Blitz protested. How the hell did Ross think he was going to afford such a price? Don't worry, it's not too much for me to pay, and not too much of him to ask. Ross assured, causing to just look at him. What? I'm not a poor man. Ross said with a chuckle as he grabbed a datapad and handed it to Naruto. Listen, with our recent activity, and them no doubt noticing that we haven't reached orbit yet, the planetary shield should be active before we can even make it into orbit, and all vessels entering and leaving the system are probably being stopped and boarded. Will you folks go get the nav data? I'll figure out a way to have it disabled without them noticing. Ross stated as Naruto nodded. Ross wasn't a combat expert. That was probably why he stayed away from the Senate. Best to keep his distance from the temple as well. Right, then, we have our mission, let's move. Naruto stated as they began to ready up. This task would be just as hard as storming the Senate building. Then I'll work on the planetary shield and pick you up in the speeder later. Ross stated as he turned to take the speeder. Why bother? Sasuke asked. Just take Slave Eye. We'll take the speeder and ditch it near the temple, the bounty hunter offered. Are you sure? What if I try to steal it? Ross pondered. He wouldn't, but he was curious why Sasuke was so trusting. The bounty hunter gave a thumbs up of approval. I'm positive you won't. Ross wouldn't leave with Naruto or the clones, and they needed someone to get them out of the temple. Infiltrating without being detected would be impossible, given the Jedi's heightened state of awareness and force sense. Also, if you move the ship too far away from the transponder chip I had implanted in my body, the whole thing will self-destruct. Even if you miraculously survive the explosion, you won't survive the fall. Sasuke said with a grin. Yeah, I probably won't steal it then. Ross said nervously. Naruto nodded at the others as they began to head out. They needed to strike fast and they need to strike now. The entire Senate building was most likely in chaos, and there was no doubt that they were being searched for by the entire planetary security force, a dozen or two Jedi, and the Senate commandos. But this also meant a fair amount of Jedi would probably out and about, leaving the temple more vulnerable. And no one would expect someone to break into the Senate building and the Jedi temple on the same day. Hurry it up. I don't get paid by the hour. Sasuke stated as he fired up the speeder for a third road trip. Jedi temple. Are you sure this is going to work? Flash questioned Fang, who rolled his eyes. Will you relax? Cindy here is just as good as any astromech. Fang chuckled as his hand had broken down into small wires, working on the ray shields that protected the ventilation shafts. Did you seriously name your prosthetic hand? Stoic deadpanned. Did you seriously name it Cindy? Fox asked in a bit of disbelief. Someone must have felt lonely at night. Flash grinned. Should be careful, Fang. Don't want her to get all rusted now, do you? Shut the hell up. Fang said as he deactivated the shields and removed the cover. I have to hand it to you, Fang. I wish my girlfriend was that useful. Naruto joined in the fun. We should have left you to rot. Fang spat. You would think this place would be more guarded. Stoic spoke up, but Naruto shook his head. The temple hasn't been attacked for 1,000 of years. The peace has made the Jedi security complacent and the security lax. After all, a platoon of Jedi is the best security system in the galaxy. Naruto stated. Ever since the escape, he had to focus concealing his presence, lest the Jedi simply follow the massive swell in the Force. Now that they had created an entry point, they would be able to break into the temple without anyone knowing. Then they would work their way up. Once we get to the upper levels, we should probably split up to avoid concentrating too many Jedi in one spot. We're good, but even we'd get overwhelmed. Naruto stated as Fox raised an eyebrow. Flash, you with me? Fox, take Stoic and Fang. Sasuke, take King and Blitz. Our objective is to reach the hangar as quickly and as stealthily as possible, steal the nav data from the ship, and then call Ross and get the hell out of here before someone too badass finds us. Alright, let's go. Fang stated as they all began to make their way into the temple. With Ross. Typical. Ross stated as he studied the security around Planet's shield generator. From the looks of it, the Coruscant security were in charge of the place. They probably didn't even know that he was here, so getting in should be easy. Well, look who we have here. Ross nearly jumped at the voice behind him as his eyes widened as he turned to look at someone he thought he would never see again. You know, I'd heard about the infamous 10th Sector Army Admiral. Nothing but praise, so imagine my shock to find out that it was you, Ross. The man stated as Ross narrowed his eyes. Long, unkempt hair. A sloppily trimmed beard. Dark brown soulless eyes. Reeked of smoke and drug racketeering. Yeah, it was him alright. Well, Ross muttered as he stared at his older brother, the infamous gang leader Roland Darhan, who had a warm smile on his face that belied his sinister nature. What are you doing here? Ross questioned, to which Roland just pursed his lips and shook his head. Ooh, that's called, Rossi. Not even a hello. No, sorry for abandoning you to rot in prison for a decade. Oh well, guess you turned out like me more than I would have liked. Roland mocked as he started to slowly walk closer to Ross. You see, I was hired to get that general of yours out of that little mess he had gotten himself into. But then some other lot decided to break him out first, and now I find you here. Put two and two together and figured that you must be the one in charge of the whole thing. You stole my score. Now, what should I tell my employer? Roland pulled out a cigar and lit it. Should I tell him that he's safe, but we'll be unable to deliver him to the proper location? And only keep the half he's already paid us? Roland began to stroll around Ross, but didn't take his eyes off him for more than a couple seconds. Should I warn the guards and have them interrogate you until them where Uzumaki is? Then kill them and capture Uzumaki to negotiate a ransom from the Republic. He continued his stroll to the edge of the platform. Roland suddenly spun around with a DL-44 in hand. Ross raised his own pistol in self-defense, but didn't fire. Or should I just kill you here and be done with the whole thing? Ross gulped as he was frozen in place by fear. Roland was an experienced sharpshooter, he was not. What do you want? Ross questioned as Roland chuckled. Would you kindly drop me off on Alderaan? Roland questioned as he raised an eyebrow. No? Ross replied simply as Roland stared at him before bursting into laughter as he walked up and pat Ross on the shoulder. Relax, boss Ross. I'll just have to settle for half my payment. There ain't no way I could subdue a Jedi Master and take him from you and your merry little band. That and stealing a score from the red-eyed hunter isn't a good idea in the circles I run with. Roland chuckled before he sighed and closed his eyes. Before he opened them with a menacing look in his eyes and a mad grin on his face. But can I? Roland questioned as he held his blaster to Ross' gut. Ross gulped once more, but again Roland started to laugh and lowered his blaster. Relax. I'm not gonna kill you, not yet anyways. The boys are waiting for me. Besides, it'll be easier for you to get into that shield generator than me. So good luck with your little adventure, brother. Oh, and just a heads up, little bro. If you ever steal my mark again, I will kill you. Roland stated as he turned and began walking away. Ross let out a sigh of relief. For a moment he thought he was going to die there. He probably left me alive just because he wants me to take down the shield generator for him. That's why he came here. Damn it. Even now I'm stuck doing dirty work for that asshole. Ross stewed in his thought as he recomposed himself and began to carry out his part of the mission. He would have to put aside his personal feelings. Bringing down the shield was all that mattered. Jedi Temple, Sasuke's group. The three had split off from the main group and took a different route to the hangar bay. However, as they made their way to the hangar bay, King had something on his mind. So, how does the general know you exactly? King questioned. It was obvious that the two knew each other even before the war. Sasuke kept his eyes straight as they kept sneaking through the temple. They had plenty of time to talk as they avoided wandering Jedi. They had the element of surprise. There was no way the Jedi would expect Naruto to break back into the temple. We used to be in the same academy, training to be shinobi, soldiers for our village. He suddenly up and disappeared one day. Sasuke stated as King saw this as a perfect chance to know more about this academy Naruto had once talked about. Naruto had always avoided the topic about his world. So what was this academy like? King questioned, to which Sasuke grunted. In a way it's pretty similar to how you and the clones were trained to fight. Children enroll into the academy at a young age. Then we learn basic subjects. Math, linguistics, history, a bit of chemistry and physics to help with using our tools, and how to use and decrypt ciphers. This all alongside proper ninja training before we officially graduate and become genin, the lowest rank. Provided we pass the test given to us by our new Jonin sensei. Sasuke responded as King hummed at that. King had referred to Naruto as sensei during their training sessions at his request, but he never knew why. The blonde was joking, but so was King when he decided to use the word excessively during their training sessions. So what rank were you? Blitz was curious. He must have been high rank to take down Jedi. Well, times turned tough and we lost a lot of good shinobi about 12 years ago now. I was promoted to Jonin, the highest rank, pretty early. But I don't think my skills were that much better than some Chunin when I left. When you found the ship and came here, you mean? King asked. No, that happened a couple years later. Sasuke trailed off, leaving King confused. He went to ask what he meant, but the raven-haired bounty hunter held up a finger. The group of Jedi younglings were walking by, and Sasuke wasn't too keen on the prospect of having to kill children. Once they had gone, King spoke again. The general didn't mention that when he talked about his homeworld. I mean, Ajin. Sasuke chuckled at that. That's cause he was at the bottom of his class, dead last in academics and practicals. Sasuke replied as King almost chirped. Wait, he was the dead last? King questioned. It was hard to believe that the person he looked up to, the war hero, the man who was known to turn the tide of battles and beloved by billions, was a dead last. Yeah. Now that I see him it's hard to believe that he used to be a failure. Guess the Jedi Order did good for him. I might know how to utilize chakra, but it's still no match for his force ability. Especially when compared to others. Sasuke stated as King raised an eyebrow. What do you mean? King questioned. I can see the presence of the force, even if I can't use it, thanks to my eyes. They're special, let's just say. I worked with Dooku before the war started, but to compare Dooku and Naruto is a joke. The difference is night and day. Naruto's force signature is one of the strongest I've seen. It rivals that little old frog that everyone looks up to. It's just not tamed yet. Sasuke stated as King thought over that. Naruto was always trying to perfect and train in his force abilities, but he always mentioned how difficult it was. He has the potential to become one of the strongest beings in this galaxy. I only saw one Jedi on Geonosis that had a potential in the force surpassing his. If he masters control over the force, and if he's going home for what I think he's wanting to do, Sasuke stated as they turned a corner. The three of them came to a halt as someone blocked their path. Sasuke didn't recognize her, but King gulped and was shivering a bit in terror. Master Shaak Ti. King muttered as he saw the Jedi Master standing in their path. King drew his vibroblades, and Sasuke tossed both of his knives over to Blitz. Shaak Ti narrowed her eyes as she readied to form two defenses. Windu had said to let Naruto escape, but he didn't say anything about these three. He's the one that Naruto fought with from Pantor. She thought as she activated her lightsaber and watched carefully. She knew that this man was dangerous. Sasuke moved forward in a flash, drawing his vibroblade faster than the Jedi Master could see. She let the Force guide her defenses, and heard the sharp clash of their weapons colliding, before realizing that the blue armored man was already in front of her. Sasuke's visor changed colors to red. Beneath his helmet, his eyes had similarly turned red with 3 black tomos circling his pupil. Fox's group turned the corner as they realized that they were the nearest group, but before them were 2 Jedis who were unaware of the approaching group. "I'll take him," Fox stated as he pulled out his twin blasters and quickly dispatched the Jedi. They quickly entered the hangar and saw the many Jedi starfighters. "Which one's Yoda's?" Stoic questioned as Fox looked around, comparing the hologram model of the ship to the ones in the hangar, before finding Yoda's personal transport. "Over there," Fox stated as they quickly ran up to ship. Fang quickly jumped on it before opening the cockpit and started to go through the ship's computer, but he found himself blocked by. "No good, it's locked. We need the passcode," Fang stated as Fox hummed. "Can't you hack it?" Fox questioned Fang, who shook his head. "No, it's missing the code cylinder. Without it, the whole ship's locked down," Fang stated as Fox nodded before pulling out his transmitter. "General, the ship needs a code cylinder to access nav data history. We need to retrieve it, probably from Master Yoda's chambers," Fox reported, waiting for a response. "Copy that, Flash and I will handle it. We're nearby anyways," Naruto replied as Fox was about to confirm, but was interrupted as 2 Jedi wandered into the hangar. Noticing the intruders, the older male drew his lightsaber and began to advance, while the younger girl ran away, likely to raise the alarm. "Form up defensive positions. Take him out," Fox ordered as Stoic pulled out a heavy blaster and started to fire away, which Fox and Fang providing support. The Jedi never stood a chance as the battle-hardened troopers concentrated their fire on the chest. He couldn't deflect all of the blaster fire and eventually succumbed to their barrage. "Fang, you can hack into their security system, right?" Fox asked. "Cindy and I can hack anything," Fang boasted confidently. Fox resisted the urge to shake his head and kept on task. "Then get out there and find the central computer, start causing chaos. We don't want the Jedi to converge on this hangar, otherwise no one will be able to get through. Stoic, you and I need to defend this ship at all costs." Fox quickly issued the orders as Fang nodded and went to work. While Stoic used his superior physique to start crafting barricades and blocking paths to create choke points, Fox was crafting traps to close off the hangar doors. Nothing too fancy, just claymores with tripwires. They would need to pull out all the stops to halt Jedi. They didn't need to kill them, necessarily, although that was an option. But their goal was just to make them think twice about advancing. Naruto's group, Naruto, along with Flash, were making their way down to Master Yoda's room to retrieve his code cylinder. "Sir, about General Siri," Flash started as Naruto closed his eyes. Flash was almost like a devoted nephew to Siri's wild ant personality. The two loved to go fast, be it in a starfighter or an airspeeder. They were both possessed by the need for speed. "Fox, Naruto began, but Flash took notice of his anguish and interrupted. "It's not your fault, sir. But please tell me, how does she die?" Flash questioned. He wanted to know what happened. Naruto opened his eyes as he looked forward, anger in his eyes. "She died fighting Grievous. He impaled her," Naruto answered with slight anger. If he ever saw Grievous, he would make him pay dearly. "I get it, sir, we'll make him pay. Just promise that I get to be there when you crush his skill with the Force," Flash responded, endorsing Naruto's desire for revenge. Flash himself swore he would make Grievous pay for what he did. "I'll be sure to make a point of it," Naruto fumed. The next time he met Grievous, he would tear the cyborg limb from limb. Flash even gave him a good idea of how to finish him off. "Anyways, this isn't the time for this, let's get moving." Flash saluted with a "Yes, sir," and the two were off. Their sprint through the halls came to a stop as Naruto tightened his fists. Before them stood as a familiar face, his former master. "Master Plo," Naruto stated, readying his blade. The Keldor Jedi was like a father to him, and now, the two would have to fight one another. This was not an opponent they could simply bypass. "I'm surprised that you didn't scramble off planet before they put up the shield. I'm even more shocked to find you here." Plo-kun expressed his surprise. He was sure that by now Naruto was off planet, not at the Jedi Temple of all places. "I don't want to fight you," Naruto stated as Plo-kun sighed and stepped aside. "Well, that's fortunate, because I don't want to fight you either," Plo-kun stated, causing Naruto to be surprised. "Warily?" Naruto questioned him as Plo-kun sighed once more. "I refuse to believe that you are guilty. Even after the breakout from the Senate building, capturing you wouldn't do justice. So be on your way. Do what you must," Plo-kun stated as Naruto nodded before he looked at him. "Then, will you help me against Master Yoda?" Naruto questioned. Master Plo was one of the few Jedi that had ever defeated Yoda in a duel, but the old Jedi shook his head. "I cannot do that. I won't stop you, but I will not aid you. You must face this trial alone, my old Padawan," Plo-kun replied. There was something that was stopping him, and he believed that it was the Force. Clearly there was something that he didn't know or understand, but the Force would not allow him to stop Naruto. He had a far greater destiny, and the Force would not allow it to be hindered. Thank you, Master Plo. Naruto stated as he and Flash made their way past Plo-kun, leaving the Jedi Master to his own thoughts. May the Force be with you, Naruto. Plo-kun stated as he turned to head to his chambers. This was his way of helping his students. Well, that went a hell of a lot better than I thought it would, Flash said, finally breathing again. Naruto nodded in relief. If they could avoid a fight, then they could save some time and their lives. Jedi Temple Hangar. We've got more of them. Fox shouted as he kept firing his blaster pistols at the incoming Jedi Temple guards. Stoic grunted as he leveled his heavy blaster at a few fuel cells he had hidden behind one of the barricades that the guards have overrun. The front of the hangar rocked with an explosion as the fuel cells exploded, killing most of the Jedi Temple guards. Fox in the meantime was engaged in close combat with the Temple Guard. However, once more, the trooper's war experience paid off as the Temple Guard was slain. These Temple Guards aren't that tough, Stoic stated as he took another one out. The Temple Guards trained regularly, but most of them hadn't fought in a live battle for a very long time. Their lack of experience in dealing with elite clones was costing them victory. Where is Fang and what the hell is he doing? Fox questioned to himself as he kept firing before the ray shields activated, blocking the entrance to the hangar and stopping the Jedi dead in their tracks. Ha, speak of the devil. I can't believe Fang was smart enough to think of that. Stoic lowered his blasters as he let loose a rare smirk as he walked up to the ray shield. Well, what are you gonna do now? Cut through the shield. I'd like to see you try, bastards. Stoic taunted as he chuckled, causing Fox to shake his head. Stop messing around, we need to make sure we're ready when they bring that shield down. Fox stated as Stoic turned around and nodded. Copy that. With that, the two began to reorganize their defense. Battle with Shaak Ti Part 1. Lightsaber clashed against metal as Shaak Ti used her expert dueling skills to fend off her three opponents. It was frustrating not knowing their names, but Shaak Ti had nicknamed the two weaker ones Red and Blue because of their armor, while the third she had designated Leader, since he seemed to be the one giving orders. Leader proved the most difficult. He was using a mixture of Xian and Terror, as well as his own unique blade work. It was obvious to her that this was someone who was trained in a homegrown art of the blade from a young age, but had eventually been trained by a Jedi. His skills with them were on the level of a master, and she was thoroughly impressed. What was confused her was that the man wasn't force sensitive, well perhaps mildly, but it wasn't enough to rouse the attention of a passing Jedi. He would never have been taken to the temple for training. This was a question for later, it was best to focus on the battle. The two Mandalorians in armor that looked freshly painted were skilled, but not nearly as much as the man she assumed to be their leader. Still, they proved formidable opponents thanks to the imbalanced teams. The red-painted one seemed to be using the common Jerkai variant of form via Naiman, albeit without the force integration that the style made use of. He had filled in those gaps on his own. It was powerful and would occasionally surprise her, but it wasn't refined in the way true master of the style would be. He needed a few months to perfect his cadences, but he was well on his way to becoming truly dangerous. However, the one that proved the most annoying was the one painted blue. He had picked up form 2 recently. She could tell by his rougher movements. But what he lacked in grace he made up for in skill. He linked moves in a way that not even she had thought of. It was almost a fusion of forms 2 and 3, with how efficient the cadences were. But something was holding him back. His attacks never seemed to follow through for the kill, they were too careful. At first, this constant caution seemed to be a detriment, but it actually played to his allies' advantage, as Shaak Ti's instincts told her to move to block the follow-through, but it often never came, and she ended up leaving herself in a dangerous position that their leader was all too ready to exploit. She was wasting energy correcting her instinctual mistakes, but she couldn't afford to not attempt to block as he might actually follow through with deadly results, and this combination of constant paranoia and a feckless defense was starting to get on her nerves. Their leader suddenly stepped back, leaving the two underlings to face her alone for a while. She was curious about the red coloring of his visor, but again, she had to focus on the battle in front of her. With the absence of the major player, Shaak Ti quickly took the advantage and went on offense, pushing the two less experienced bounty hunters back. Hey, are you gonna get back in this fight anytime soon or are you taking a full 15-minute break? The blue one called out to their leader. I need just a couple minutes more. Keep her occupied until then, Blue. Their leader responded, watching the battle intently. Shaak Ti cursed in her mind as it seemed they were intent to speak to one another using pronouns and armor colors. It would have helped her to call them by name. Damn it, I guess we'll do this ourselves, Red. Blue called out, seemingly asking for help. On it, Blue. Red suddenly threw his vibrocknives into the air, as the blue tossed his own pair over to Red. Comparing the two, Shaak Ti realized that Red had actually been using what seemed to be custom-made short swords, and not the more common combat vibrocknives like she thought. Red came at her from the side, using the shorter reach to his advantage. His up-close fighting style wasn't better suited to these knives, but it changed the paradigm of his attacks. He was closer and swinging harder, it made her have to completely rethink her defenses. In the air, Blue had caught the short swords and pressed the attack. She quickly noted that with the added reach, he was more inclined to follow through on somewhat riskier attacks. Despite their efforts, Shaak Ti adjusted quickly and started pushing them back again. All the while, the third had just been sitting back at rest, watching intently. Red and Blue continued their combined offensive, regularly trading weapons and switching combat styles, in no particular order or pattern. They simply knew when to trade to keep her on edge. They had just traded back to their original weapons when Shaak Ti felt a disturbance in the force, telling her she was in danger. That should be enough, she heard someone mutter. Turning her attention to him, she blocked his opportunistic strike just in time. His offense did not stop, and she began being pushed back by his fluid and precise strikes. Wait a second. Xian and Atera weren't fluid nor precise like Sarasa or Makashi. But now that she thought about it, he was no longer using Xian or Atera. Her graceful and unique style of Makashi was being imitated and stolen by his bounty hunter, and he was using it to great effect. Rather than switching styles completely, he had merely incorporated Makashi into his other forms of combat. Shaak Ti found that while she could hold back the three of them before, it was requiring a significant effort just to keep herself from getting overwhelmed. Having noticed the change in her balance, Leader spoke up. Blue, get to the hangar. We can handle things here, but they're gonna need your help before long. I'll be needing my knives back, though. Shaak Ti was confused. They should press their advantage and try to defeat her now before she recovered. That is, unless their intention was only to delay her. If that was the case, then, was Naruto here, in the temple? Yes, sir. Blue tossed the knives over to Leader before taking off down the hall, who caught them in one hand, and pushed Shaak Ti back with a strong shove against his blade. Well, that was one advantage physical weapons had over energy ones like lightsabers. Touching them didn't scorch your skin. When Shaak Ti recovered, she leapt towards Leader. He blocked using the Makashi techniques he had just copied from her. This irritated Shaak Ti immensely. How rude to just steal someone's style. But then again, this was a lightsaber form made by a Jedi for Jedi. Perhaps she could use that to her advantage. It required a lot more effort, but Shaak Ti began utilizing the more advanced techniques of her style almost exclusively. The bounty hunter changed his style to keep up, but back off when Shaak Ti landed a glancing blow on his shoulder. Internally, Sasuke was furious. He had reached the edge of his physical limitations. Even with his Sharingan and boosting his physicality with chakra, he did not receive premonitions like the Jedi could, and couldn't predict Shaak Ti's strikes with complete certainty. He tried to switch between his styles, but Shaak Ti was well trained in all 6 of the basic forms. She kept things as advanced as possible, and her opponent faltered, learning the hard way that he just wasn't capable of fully mirroring a Jedi. It doesn't matter if you know one lightsaber form or 1,000, if you can't use them properly, you'll never defeat a Jedi Master. Shaak Ti said triumphantly. Sasuke had realized his mistake too late. His opponent had shifted the balance, and she began batting away his defenses with power strikes. Shaak Ti's final power swing should have disarmed the bounty hunter, literally, but it had been stopped by Red with his 2 vibro swords in the cross guard. What, did you forget about me? King taunted before running down the hall towards the hangar. King knew that in a one-on-one he wouldn't last long, but he just needed to distract her for a few seconds. Shaak Ti was frustrated with the constant interruptions, and if she could defeat them now and get to Naruto, then maybe she could stop him from being used as bait in Windu's plan. She had only chased after Red for a second when a vibroblade suddenly blocked her path. The leader had caught up to them in a flash. He was quick, too quick. She fought him off, but found he was quick to retreat to a safe distance. When a vibro knife came flying at her, she pieced together his strategy as she ducked. She was surprised when the force warned her to duck for cover once more as the vibro knife came flying back. That's when she noticed it was attached to a thick wire that the bounty hunter was holding in his hand. I suppose it's not a perfect recreation, but let's see how you handle the old kunai on a chain technique. With a few more flourishes of the wire, Sasuke threw the vibro knife and pulled on the wire, when Shaak Ti went to block, causing it to veer into the wall and bounce back towards her. Crouching out of the way, Ti swung her saber at the wire passing overhead, but found that it only fizzled briefly. Ha, sorry miss, but that's a kurtosis weave meant specifically for binding Jedi. A lightsaber isn't gonna cut it in one half-assed swing. Sasuke informed Shaak Ti cursed as she rolled towards her attacker. She went in for a strike, but found the back of her hand caught by the passing knife, nearly forcing her to drop her saber. You should really watch out for that, Miss T. Red taunted her again. Shaak Ti bore her sharp canines in frustration. What was he sitting all high and mighty for? Not like he was doing much of anything. Okay, so she couldn't go after Leader anymore. Trying to get past that flying vibro knife in these enclosed halls wasn't going to happen. That left her with only one target, and she was more than happy to shut him up. Speeding towards Red, he raised his twin vibro swords in defense, but she batted them out of the way, and brought down her blue saber for the kill. Jedi Temple, Yoda's chambers. Wait here. Sorry, but this is on a level you're just not ready for. Naruto stated as they finally reached Master Yoda's quarters. The door quickly opened up for him as he entered, leaving Flash behind. Yoda wouldn't miss someone sneaking into his room, especially if he were in them. So Naruto would have to draw Yoda out of his chambers. Grandmaster. Naruto stated as Yoda opened his eyes. Arrived, you have. Yoda questioned, as Naruto nodded. He knew that Yoda would be waiting for him. There was no point in hiding his presence anymore. You know I didn't do it. I would never harm Siri. Naruto stated as his hand hovered over his lightsaber, but Yoda closed his eyes and sighed. Believe you I do. But let you go, I cannot. Understand, you do. Yoda inquired as his eyes opened, glaring at Naruto. His green lightsaber hissed and Naruto quickly activated his own in defense. Yoda leapt into the air with a wild yell, his blade impacting on Naruto's 2 or 3 times before pausing on the wall and striking again. Damn it. His size and fighting style are perfect for such environments. Naruto thought to himself as his eyes darted across the room, trying to keep track of Yoda. The little green Grandmaster was using Force Valor, and he was using it a lot more effectively than he could. Naruto did his best to lure Yoda towards the door, and he was glad when Yoda followed him outside into the hall. He's using the Force to boost his physiology and speed to such a high level. Naruto gritted as he started to use his own Force Valor ability, but he quickly realized just how far the difference in ability was. Not to mention Yoda's experience was working against Naruto and in a way not possible with beings of a shorter lifespan. Force-sensitive humans live to maybe 70 without encountering severe health problems that come with old age, and they would become one with the Force within another 3 decades. A few passing Jedi had taken notice of Naruto's duel with Yoda and stopped to observe it in awe. These were the same Padawans and rookie knights that were guarding the Senate earlier. They knew that interfering would only end up in someone getting maimed, or worse. Hurry up, Flash. Naruto thought to himself as he noticed Flash going through Yoda's room as stealthy as possible. He was trying to keep Yoda's attention on him, to give time for Flash to find what he was looking for, and find it he did. With there no longer being any need for stealth, Flash ran out the door same the way he had came in, but Yoda noticed Flash and tried to stop him, but Naruto did not let him. Guess I got no choice. Naruto muttered to himself as he began to use his unique style and quickly. His speed and power increasing drastically as Yoda began to tire. Despite his ability with Force Valor, he was still elderly, and a prolonged fight against a powerful opponent was very tiring. Yoda realized at that moment that with enough years and experience, Naruto would become an unstoppable force. However, Naruto's unique style had a weakness. Damn it, Naruto huffed as he outdistanced between him and Yoda. He was also beginning to tire. Keeping the advantage over Yoda's speed required all he could muster. The intertwining blurs of blue and green became impossible for the crowd of Jedi to follow. They could only watch the colorful dance of 2 Form IV Masters continue. Yoda felt the strain on his body growing, making it difficult for him to block Naruto's power strikes. Yoda also felt his swings getting heavier, but this wasn't his body telling him to slow down, it was something else trying to stop him. The Force. Yoda thought as Naruto raised his saber once more to fight, even after exhausting himself with Force Valor. However, he was quickly lifted up and onto someone's back. What the? Naruto said in surprise at the man fireman carrying him through the halls, with the observing Jedi now in close pursuit. Sorry sir, but you look like you were about to fall over and die, and we need to get you to the extraction point in one piece. He heard Blitz as Naruto raised an eyebrow. I thought you were heading for the hangar. Naruto questioned as Blitz nodded. But I had a gut feeling that you'd gotten yourself into trouble, so I made my way here. Blitz replied as Naruto hummed. Good call. Naruto stated as he felt the last bit of strength in his body fade. Yoda meanwhile sighed as he sat down to rest. He was too tired to give chase, and was also amazed that Naruto had fought him to a standstill, even with the Force hindering him. Mysterious, the Force is. Yoda stated as he chuckled slightly. Jedi Temple hangar. Where are they? Stoke wondered from up in the rafters while watching over the hangar. He was glad that Rey's shield had held up for so long, and with Fang causing chaos, the Jedi had begun to disperse to deal with those supposed attacks on the temple. Whatever it took, as long as they were too busy to congregate at the hangar bay, but Stoke knew this deception wouldn't last. At the very least it's quiet. Fox stated as he kept watch from below, ready to take cover behind a makeshift barricade at a moment's notice. Suddenly, a voice came over their comms channel. It was Flash. Fang, I've got the code cylinder. We're on our way to the hangar. Lower the shield and get out here now. Flash shouted into their earpieces of Fang, as the 2 captains stood up as he followed after the 2, and quickly headed over to Yoda's ship, and quickly got to work. Stoke. He looked up to find Flash running towards him. He saw the Jedi waiting at the shielded door turn to face Flash with their lightsabers readied. But Flash didn't stop like they expected, he kept going. Fang, who was observing the temple's security feed, took that opportunity to lower the shield behind them. Fox and Stoic wasted no time in opening fire on the exposed Jedi. A couple of them turned around to deflect their blasts back at them. Flash, what are you doing? There's too many, get out of here. Fox yelled at the foolish captain before ducking. One of his blasts had zoomed right back at him. This isn't the time for a suicidal charge. Fox shouted from behind cover. Heh, it's not suicidal if you're me. Flash picked up his speed and began running towards the side of the hallway. The Jedi moved to intercept, but Flash had taken flight as his boots planted themselves on the walls, turning his forward momentum into upward momentum, and sending him soaring over the heads of the Jedi and into the hangar. Now it was a 5-on-3, with the group of 5 being Jedi. Great. I'm here, guys. He looked up to find Fang running towards him with his hand waving, before the supposed master of stealth tripped over his own feet, causing Stoic to sweat drop. What a time to be an airhead. Stoic thought as he shook his head before he saw Blitz turning the corner in a rush. At least it would be 5-on-5 now, but that's when he noticed what Blitz was running from. Fang, you'd better hurry. Stoic shouted as everyone looked up at him and their eyes widened. Running down the hallway was Blitz carrying Naruto, and behind them were a large group of angry Jedi Knights intent on stopping them. Just give me and Cindy a second, Fang said as he got down to work through the dreadful groans of the other 3 captains. The code cylinder was accepted, and Fang found the relevant hyperspace routes, and began downloading the nav data into the data storage hosted in his cybernetic arm. I think it's time to call Ross, Naruto suggested as Blitz sat him down next to the ship to rest. Blitz nodded and got onto the comms channel. Ross shouldn't be too far away, now all they had to do was wait for King and Sasuke. Battle with Shaak Ti Part 2. Shaak Ti found her weapon impact against the white steel of Sasuke's pristine blade. King had raised his arms in terror, but quickly relaxed when he realized his life was safe. Time's up. Get to the ship, I'll handle her, Sasuke ordered King. He nodded and quickly went past the 2 to back up the others in the hangar. You should surrender right now, Shaak Ti stated, as she pushed him back. Sasuke smirked at that. Not a chance, he replied as he moved in to attack at great speed. It initially caught Shaak Ti off, but he was noticeable slower than Naruto in his blade work. Still, she was put on her back foot as Sasuke kept pushing forward before she was able to get the hang of things. You're almost as good as my former student. Almost, Shaak Ti taunted as she began to push back, forcing Sasuke on the defense. I don't even know if it's possible to not compare her to Dooku, Sasuke grit his teeth. Shaak Ti and Dooku were both Jedi Masters, but Shaak Ti was the better of the 2 in some regards. Her swings were calm, precise, and calculated. Dooku, on the other hand, had the power of the dark side. Guess I'll have to use chakra. Hope this doesn't reveal too much, Sasuke thought as he used his strength and pushed Shaak Ti back before he held his vibroblade in one hand, before he started channeling chakra into his hand, coating it in lightning. Shaak Ti widened her eyes. Was this a Sith in disguise? No, his martial skills didn't matter. There was no way he was force sensitive enough to conjure lightning. Sasuke rushed forward, his hand covered in lighting, and moved in for an attack. Shaak Ti in response raised her lightsaber to defend herself, but was left in complete shock when Sasuke opened his lightning-cladded latched onto her lightsaber, sending the energy careening through the blade and into the metal handle, where nature took care of the rest. Erg. Shaak Ti gritted her teeth as she felt the lighting course through her, causing her to buckle over and fall to her knees. Sasuke finished the battle with a powerful kick that he leaned into a little too much. Huffing before sprinting down the hall, Sasuke made a rush for the hangar. An orbit over Coruscant. The Coruscant home defense fleet was pretty self-explanatory. A fleet stationed at Coruscant to defend it in case of an attack. It was sizable, but as Coruscant was so deep in Republic territory, it often had little to do, and many of its ships had been restationed elsewhere. Currently, it was quickly busy, making sure no ship got off without being boarded and inspected. There was a trader on the run, and they would catch him. Sir, we have multiple ships dropping out of hyperspace, an officer reported to his superior on board the Paladin. The superior officer turned to his subordinate. Friend or foe? He questioned as the officer looked at his screen. The public, sir, he replied as the superior officer nodded. Then there's nothing wrong. They're probably here to stop these upstart protesters, the superior officer wrote off. It was most likely a reinforcing fleet here to help the CHDF. On board the Fire Shadow. Sir, we're leaving hyperspace, an officer reported to Storm, who Ross had placed in command of Naruto's personal Star Destroyer. They had received the reinforcement signal from Toad, and the 497th, along with the other splinter groups of the 10th Army, began to drop out of hyperspace. It seems like they don't know our intent. That's good, the clone reported as Storm nodded and smirked. Good. Get us close and ready our turbo lasers. We'll cast a die and cause havoc, Storm ordered as the fleet of Star Destroyers and smaller vessels approached the CHDF before they were being raised by command. Unidentified Republic fleet, what is your purpose here? Storm heard over the comms, to which she smirked. Well, we are here to liberate, Storm replied with a smile. Liberate? Liberate what? Was the reply. Storm looked at the weapons officer and nodded. Why, liberate our general, Naruto Uzumaki, from the clutches of the Republic, of course. All batteries, open fire. Full broadside, Storm ordered with a stomp of his new metal leg, as the fleet began to open fire at close range at the unprepared orbiting fleet. Jedi Temple Hangar Bay. I've got it, Fang stated as he finally managed to extract the nav data. That's great, but our situation isn't improving. Where the hell is that bounty hunter? He knows we can't leave without him, right? Fox shouted as the clones continued their barrage of fire at the Jedi, keeping them from advancing further into the hangar as best they could. Naruto was still out of it from his encounter with Yoda. Asking him to help in this situation would be dangerous to his health. No sooner did he say that than did Sasuke came running down the hallway from behind the Jedi lines. "Coming through, watch your heads." Sasuke shouted as he activated his jetpack and flew right over the Jedi and rolled right into the hangar. A quick barrage of blaster bolts tagging a few unsuspecting Jedi. "That's everyone. Now follow my lead." Naruto shouted as he started to run towards the end of the hangar bay. Everyone quickly started to follow him, but their enthusiasm stiffened when they realized Naruto wasn't stopping. "Are you seriously asking us to jump out of the hangar?" Fang questioned. "I've done it before. Just trust me." Naruto lied as he jumped through the opening and started to freefall along the side of the building. Sasuke was the first to follow, being unintimidated by a long fall, thanks to his ninja training and jetpack. King was next to muster up the courage, which inspired Blitz to follow suit. Flash, Stoic, and Fox took the leap, leaving Fang dragging his feet. He silently cursed Naruto before finally plunging out the hangar. The group was in freefall for a couple seconds before landing on the slanted walls of the temple and sliding down. They had maybe half a minute before they all impacted on the rooftops of the lower levels. Sasuke was the first to adjust and rose to his feet. Naruto got his bearings soon after and started to run down the wall with greater control. The clones continued sliding, unable to compensate with chakra like Sasuke, or the Force as with Naruto. Sasuke was the first to see his inbound ship, and he flew to it with his jetpack. The loading ramp lowered, and Sasuke beckoned the others to hop aboard. "This is it, boys. It's now or never. Jump." Naruto shouted as he jumped off the wall, and right onto the slave eye. Stoic, Flash, and King successfully made the jump, while Fox had to be caught by Naruto and blitzed by Sasuke. Fang reached out with his cybernetic hand and activated the magnetic implants, adhering him firmly to the side of the ship, allowing him to compensate for his slightly more lacking physiology. He climbed towards the ramp when the ship suddenly shook violently. Delta 7s had pursued them out of the temple and were firing on the ship. Fang completed the climb, and the ramp closed as the 8 of them took their seats. "Get this ship going, Ross." Naruto shouted as the ship slowly moved into position and quickly shot up into the atmosphere. As the ship left the planet, those on board could see the battle in orbit raging on as Ross relinquished the pilot's seat to Sasuke, who maneuvered them through the battle. "There's the spearhead. Take us there." Ross stated as Sasuke nodded and started to move the ship towards the spearhead's hangar bay. Ross pulled out his transmitter and contacted Toad. "Toad, get the fleet ready to jump out the second the docking clamps are in place." Ross shouted into the transmitter. "We'll be ready, sir." Toad replied as the ships began to maneuver into position for a jump to the rendezvous point. Slave Eye evaded incoming fire from the pursuing Jedi expertly before it almost crash-landed into the dorsal hangar of the spearhead. Sasuke quickly adjusted his speed, and the magnetic clamps were in place in a few seconds. "Now?" Ross shouted into the transmitter as the spearhead quickly maneuvered into position before it jumped into hyperspace with the rest of the fleet following soon after. Thanks for listening. I do hope you enjoyed. If you want the next part of this video, like, subscribe and comment down below, and turn on the bell notification. And also check out other videos that I have created and enjoy. See you in the next video. Peace.